Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography. Traffic week coming to a close, and today for side 3, we are looking at what we're calling splinter groups, which is kind of the opposite of supergroups, where multiple members of a band go off and have kind of prominent secondary projects or solo projects. In the case of Traffic, you've got Steve Winwood having a very successful solo career. Dave Mason as well had several solo hits, and Jim Capaldi released solo records also. We're going to look at maybe a couple more examples of that. What do you guys got?
First one that actually came to mind was actually Broken Social Scene, newer group, spawned Feist. Love her stuff. Love Broken Social Scene stuff. Love Kevin Drew's solo stuff. You know, they're a band that came to prominence in the late 90s. If you guys don't know them, check them out. They're awesome. But that was the first one that came to mind, mainly just because I've seen almost every version, so live.
That's more of like a collective than an actual band, I guess. You also got Jason Collette, who's really cool, was in Broken Social Scene, and I think the group Stars kind of came out of that, didn't they?
I think so, yeah. Well, I haven't seen them live, but the ones that I mentioned.
How about you, Joe?
Well, for me, the first one that comes to mind would be The Byrds, since everybody was in that, and they were all in sort of, you know, those folk rock groups of the 60s. You had David Crosby, who would go on to be in CSN, CSNY, a bunch of stuff. Chris Hillman, who's in Manassas and does a Rose Band after this. Flying Burrito Brothers with Graham Parsons, who was also in The Byrds, and the Flying Burrito Brothers, and solo stuff definitely comes to mind. And sort of in tune with that would be Buffalo Springfield with Neil Young and Stephen Stills. And something I just learned, they also had Jim Messina in it, who was an engineer and played bass on 2 songs on their last album. So, and he, of course, Loggins and Messina, he founded Poco, I believe, which is another band with a bunch of members, but maybe I'll let Jason get that one.
The first one that jumped to my mind was Uncle Tupelo splitting into Sunvolt and Wilco, Jay Farrar, moving on to Sunvolt, and of course, Jeff Tweedy.
Both of those are better than Uncle Tupelo.
I would.
You like Uncle Tupelo more than Sunvolt?
Maybe. It's close.
But not more than Wilco.
Not close. Another one, very obvious. The Beatles all had very successful solo careers.
Genesis, obvious one there. NWA, big one there. The Yardbirds.
Eagles pretty much all had solo careers. A bunch of the Eagles were in bands before they came to the Eagles, so definitely a lot of different members going through there. A lot of giant hits coming out of that kind of collective.
I was thinking Deep Purple, even though they didn't kind of like all splinter at once. You've got Rainbow, you've got Gillan with his band. You also had Tommy Bolin having kind of some solo stuff. I've got one real interesting one. You guys got any more before I get to that?
Animal Collective is one, but they never really broke up and formed other stuff. They just had a bunch of solo projects among them, but that one I kind of was thinking of as well.
All right, so any of you hear of the band Mina Birds before?
Mina Birds?
Mina Birds.
Heard of them. Maybe it's ringing a bell.
So in the late 60s, Rick James avoided the draft, went up to Canada and met some people there, started a band. This band had Nick St. Nicholas, who went on to Steppenwolf, Bruce Palmer, who went on to Buffalo Springfield, and a young Neil Young, who also went on to Buffalo Springfield. This group was signed to Motown, and then they found out that Rick James was in legal trouble for dodging the draft, and the record never happened. Neil went to California, and it took a while before Rick James was able to make it in the music business, but I thought that one was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's a great one. Thought of one more. Might be a little obscure for some people, but you'll know at least one of the bands that came out of it. Got At the Drive-In with Sparta and Mars Volta coming out of that one. We'll get to those guys later. They'll be on my list. Don't you worry.
I like the Mars Volta, but if you're talking early 2000s, we're going to be completely different with albums of the year, at least if that's what you're referring to.
Still waiting for that year where we get 15 different albums, and I think it might take till the 2000s before it happens now.
Well, it'll definitely happen in the 2000s, so no worries there.
Any others, guys? It was a pretty tough list to do. I thought there would be more.
I mean, with multiples, it gets tough.
I guess more rap groups like Public Enemy would be one. Whatever 50 Cent's little group was called, blanking on it.
I guess people watching can give us some help. Let us know some more down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to hit the bell so that you're getting notifications when new videos come out, and check down in the description for links to our social media accounts. And we will see you tomorrow for Albums of the Year 1986.
Oh, this is why we don't record the slate.